session. Today we are in our base in Warsaw, in Zajchowska. Agata is with me. So tell us if you can see us, if you can hear us. I hope so. And let's begin. So our topic today is challenges of everyday ADV rider, which is all of us. Why we chose it? Because we were exactly in this situation. So I would like to talk about it from my own perspective. And as a cherry in the cake, in the second half of our transmission, Marta and Łukasz from Look Around the Globe, very famous travelers, will join us and they will talk about the issues which I will raise from their own perspective. So, um, as a starting point, as many of you know, but I guess not all of you, before I was involved in the motorcycle business, I used to work in a in the office, in the legal office. I am a lawyer by education, and I spent 10, 12 or more hours a day sitting in front of the computer in a small room. I enjoyed the work. By the way, greetings to my ex-colleagues from the lawyer's office. I hope at least some of you, maybe Maciek, because some of them are bikers, are watching us. So this was my previous life. I enjoyed it on one hand, but on the second hand, I knew it was not exactly my world, and I knew the time which I had for traveling was not enough. So imagine this: you have normal work, you go to the office every day for 10 or 12 hours or more hours. You try to use your holiday as much as you can for riding the motorbike, and not only. But on the other hand, you dream about this big, big trip, your dream trip, and you really want to do it, but you don't know how. You don't know how because you just don't have time to think about it. You sit in your work, you do the stuff which you have to do on daily basis, and this dream is inside you, but you don't know where to start. So this is where I was. I was a lawyer, wishing and dreaming about my trip. I definitely didn't know where to start. And bear in mind that it was 12 years ago. So Facebook was not that spread as it is now. There were, of course, motorcycle forums and internet as well, but the information was not that easily available as now. So I thought that it's good idea to show you that I know from the experience what you have to go through to prepare your trip, and I can tell you how and to what extent we actually can help you because we were in this situation and we know how to deal with it. So, okay, you sit in your office or in your work and then you plan your trip. And from my perspective, you have to think first about 10 main points. So, do you still hear me? You hear me well, I hope, because it would be nice to know if I talk to myself or maybe to someone else. Is there anyone there? Hello, at least one person. Okay, so point number one you have to think about is time. Actually, how much time you have for your trip. And you have to know that there is no good time for a trip or bad time for a trip, or that the long trips are better than the short trips and the big round the world trips are only the achievements and the rest is like nothing, rubbish. It's nothing like that. All kind of trips are perfect and beautiful. So you just have to think about yourself. How much time do you have? Is it like a trip which you will fit within your holiday time, meaning in most cases 2 3 weeks or 5 days or a couple of days, or is it a longer period? And then in my case, it was longer period. It was 6 months, which for probably nowadays perspective is not that long, and people do it for longer, like Marta and Łukasz, who will tell us about the story later on. But if you plan the longer trip, you still have an option not to lose your job and to do it, because it's more and more common within companies to give sabbatical leaves, sabbatical holidays for the employees. So you can ask for a sabbatical holiday. It's a couple of months. But a couple of months you can do a lot. In the worst scenario, or if you change your job, you can do your trip in between, or in the worst scenario, you can always quit your job, which I don't advise and don't recommend, but this is always an option. So once you know when and for how long, the second question is, where do I actually want to go? So the first answer probably which comes to to all of us, to each traveler, is, I want to do the real round the world trip. But this is not so easy, and most probably most of us will not be able to do it. So you have to think actually, what are your interests? Are you keen? Are you a fan or focus on a specific continent, specific region, any culture or any country? Because it's really impossible to see everything at once. And most probably, if you have limited period of time and you will try to cover too big area, you will actually not see it. You will just cross it, following the main roads, and that's it. So this is not the good option. Think within yourself what you really want to see and where. Uh, and this is the first thing, which is not that obvious probably for you, but there is an option to contact us on this stage. I mean, if you have an idea of where do you want to go, but you're not sure exactly where and how, we can advise you. We can prepare you a special tailor-made trip or self-guided tour basing on your needs or your wishes or your requirements. So the offer which we have regarding the trips, it's not only what we have on the website, but also we prepare for people tours which are made especially for them. So maybe this is an option for you, because you will not have to work on all the details, and it's really a lot of work you will see when you prepare the trip. It will be all done for you, but still you will follow your dream. So if it is what you need, we are here to help you. Okay, if you know when and where to go and what kind of trip it will be, then you have to think what kind of bike you will use. And again, there is this common misconception saying that there is one best bike or some bikes are better than the others for traveling. And I don't agree. I mean, you can actually travel on everything. I saw people riding scooters and small bikes, or anything, fulfilling their dreams. So you don't have to have fancy big bike to actually go on a trip. What you have to know is, and you have to answer to yourself, is where and in what form you want to go, and then the vehicle which you have should be suitable for the kind of trip which you choose. So if you want to cross quickly Europe on main roads, don't go on a small enduro bike. If you want to go off-road, don't go on the big heavy bike. If you go to the remote places, don't go on a bike which is full of electronics and can fail, and then you will be at the end of nowhere without any help. So you have to consider within yourself which option you want to follow, and then you can always choose the proper bike. Okay, so you know when, you know where, and you know on what bike. Now the question is, are you going alone or are you going with a group? And here we have again two options. Alone meaning just you, your bike, and nobody else, and you organized everything by yourself. Or you can go with your friend, or with a group of friends, which would be perfect. But it's quite difficult to find few people which have the same amount of time and the same needs and the same wishes at the same time to go together. It would be perfect solution, but there are people who prefer to ride on themselves. Or maybe you want to go on the organized tour, which are commonly offered, for example, by Motobirds, but not only. And then you can fit perfectly well on one of the organized tours by us. Or, as I said, we can prepare a special tailored trip for you according to your needs, or and go with you. Or we can prepare you self-guided tour if you want to go by yourself or with your friends. So there is plenty of option. You just need to know what you really want, and don't listen to everyone else telling you that this is the right way and this is the wrong way. It doesn't exist. The way which you like is the only one which is good. So you have to know what you want and then find a solution. Of course, it's easier to go on the organized tour because everything is done for you and you just sit on the bike and enjoy the surroundings. But still, if you want to ride alone, meaning either only by yourself or with your friends, but everything prepared and done by yourself, we can still help you, because believe me, there is plenty of work to do before you start. This is how we go to the next point. Once you know with whom you go, you have to answer yourself the question how to prepare yourself and how to prepare the bike. Yourself meaning, do you need any training courses on how to ride bike, for example, off-road? Do you need any courses which refer to the mechanics of the bike? Because if you're riding in the remote areas and your bike failed, you have to know what to do with it. Do you need any language courses? Because in some areas, well, obviously you can ride everywhere and not understand a single word, but most probably you will lose a lot. So I really advise to learn at least the basics of the language or the languages which we use on the way. It's also good to get some knowledge about local culture, just to know what not to do more than what to do, not to get in trouble. So all of this you have to go yourself, and you also on the other hand have to prepare your bike. It's not only you, it's your bike which has to be reliable going with you on a trip. So you have to check what are the service options on the way, especially if the trip is long and you will make a lot of kilometers. Sometimes you have to send some spare parts, because it's not that obvious that you can buy spare parts, tires, or anything along the way. So it's better to be prepared. For example, on the first long trip which I had, I sent tires to some remote places in Asia, because it was impossible to buy this size of tires which we needed then. So you have to think about all of it up front. Then when you finish preparing yourself and the bike, you go to next point, which is packing gear and equipment. Are you going to camp? Are you going to use hotels, accommodation? How your trip will look like? Most probably, if the trip is long, you will camp. So you need tent, you need cooking stuff, you need a lot of things with you, which of course occupies space. So you have to pack wisely. And I know Marta is absolute master in this. They both ride together on one bike, and they have absolutely everything. So I hope Marta will give us some clues about it. And you have to also think about the weather conditions in the countries you go to, because obviously it's easy to go light and don't take anything with you. But then if you go somewhere which is like really cold in the nights and really hot during the days, you have to be prepared for all kinds of conditions. So think about it up front, because it's easy to buy and find everything in Europe, but not all over the world. You have to be aware of it. Okay, next point, logistics. This is usually the most overwhelming moment, because again, we have two parts. Logistics about yourself. You need passport to be valid. You need driving license, sometimes international driving license. You need visas. Very often you need to arrange the visas up front. For the trip, my trip 12 years ago, I had to arrange visas for 11 or 12 countries, and it was very big logistic work to actually make a schedule when to send the passports to which embassy to have it in a proper order. So it's not that easy, because it's not always online. Then you have to think about vaccinations, about travel insurance, about phone coverage, which you will have on the way. Are you going to use the satellite phone? Are you going to use a spot? There is plenty of points which, again, we can help you with this. If you are lost, if you are overwhelmed, just ask us and we can give you a list. We can guide you, or we can even give you answers. There are plenty of options, but we are here to help. And the next point, which is bike logistics, which is very often the starting or ending point of your trip, is somewhere from where you cannot drive. So there is a bike transportations, and this is where again we appear, and we are good in it. We can transport your bike by air, we can transport your bike by ship, by boat, by train. Sometimes we have our scheduled transports, and we can make special individual transports to, let's say, extraordinary places. There is plenty of options. You don't have to deal with it on your own. Of course, you can if you have time and patience, but believe me, it requires a lot of time. It's not that easy. You have to know the tricks, and very often the prices you are provided with are not the last prices which you will pay, because there will be extra fees, some administration fees you are not aware of, and it may turn out that you will pay much more than expected. So it's kind of good to be prepared, or to use some services of a company, for example, like us. The other thing you have to think about is customs, because okay, transportation is one thing, but then it's a custom procedure of the bike. And sometimes, believe me, it's really exotic in some areas. In Europe it's easy, but the further you go to the more remote places, the more complicated it can be. And again, we are here to help you with the custom procedures. You have to be aware about the documents for the bikes. Do you need the CPD carnet? About the road insurance, which you have to arrange. Again, we have experience, not everywhere, but we can check. Our network is quite spread now, and we can easily check, so we can provide you with this information. Okay, logistics done. Think about money. Are you going to need to work on the way to earn money, or you have enough of money with you? How are you going to take it? Because you will not bring like 2 bags of cash. There are some countries where the cards don't work, or it's problematic. So all these logistics regarding money also have to be done up front, because otherwise you can find yourself in a complicated situation in which, for example, you have money but you cannot use it because you don't have means. So it is especially dangerous for people from Western world like Europe, which are used to the fact that everything is very easily accessible, but it's not the case all over the world. Then we go to point 9, which is almost the end, which is route preparation. And okay, you see how much you have to do before you actually start to prepare the route. Now, when you finish with all the previous stages, you have to think, or you should think, what are the hot spots on the way? What are the things which you really want to see? What you don't want to miss? Of course, you have to be quite flexible, because you will meet a lot of unexpected events on the way, but it's kind of good to have general idea what you want to see. And here you have 2 types of travelers: the travelers which have very detailed plan and they follow it, or the travelers which are more improvising and they just vaguely know where they will go, but they change the plan. But in each case, it's good to know the main points which are really like a must see for you. It's good to know what are the holidays periods and days in the countries you go, because you can be stuck and then you will not arrange anything. And it's good to find out local riders support, like local forums, local communities, which can be very helpful in case of emergency. And the last point, if you go to remote places, for example, you have to cross from South America to Central America, and you have Darien Gap on the way. Usually you cannot arrange the crossing like this from one day to the other. So it's good to see the options up front. So you see how many stages you have on the way. It's plenty of them, and you have an option to deal with it yourself, or to have some help, or like from the companies like us. We are very open and keen to help you, and we are very open and keen to answer any of your questions, if you have, even now, regarding any of the specific topics which you already had during your trips and which you found difficult. Agata, are there any questions?
Not at the moment.
No questions. Okay, so if you have any questions later, just write us. And now let me introduce our very special guests, Marta and Łukasz, or Marta, I don't know. Marta, you're alone. Okay, let's wait. Here is Marta. Look
Yeah,
around
hello.
yourself.
Okay.
Hi,
It's okay?
Marta. Yeah,
Can
we
anybody
see
hear
you.
me? Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay, so
let me just tell one word. Marta and Łukasz are super big travelers. They've been almost everywhere. I had the privilege to transport their bikes at the very beginning of the trip, which was very nice, and the bikes is still there with
yeah.
them. and they are stuck now in Oman because of the coronavirus times, but they had to deal with all these topics which I mentioned before, so they are very experienced, and I'm sure they have different views and different experience with all of this. So Marta, first tell us what was the most difficult for you when you were preparing your trip?
Actually, okay. So first thing, why I'm alone, because Łukasz is now preparing the bike. Luckily, we got the information that we have a flight today, so we need to prepare everything. And in this moment, actually, we are, one leg is in Poland now, and one leg is still in Oman. So Łukasz
So
is
we're
now
two of you.
working. So sorry, I'm alone.
Okay. It will be very
Yeah.
good
So
to see you.
Yeah. So maybe I will ask him to come here for a while, but actually we are in hurry, so that's the reason I decided to be with you now, and he is working with the bike. Yeah, actually preparing the bike to leave here because we need to leave it, unfortunately. But what was the most difficult thing during our travels? And when I'm thinking about it, it was the first travel we did. You've been talking about visas, about the whole process of making it, planning the trip during our short vacation, like the 3 weeks. It was even enough for us that time. That was, I think, the longest one I had. But yeah, the first one. So for 7 countries we wanted to visit, we had to prepare 5 visas. So I was working on visas through 2 months, and the whole journey was 3 weeks. So that was, I think, the most challenging what we had from the beginning. And that travel was 20 to 21 days, and we did 15,000 kilometers going to a Chinese border from Poland and then coming back. So we were in Central Asia, so Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and all these countries. So when we were passing Russia, and we were passing Kazakhstan.
Yeah, these countries are very like you need visas and a lot of documents everywhere and so on. Yeah,
I think I'm not talking about this moment because everything is like a big mess now. But actually, I think now it's a little bit easier. So I recommend to go there. This is like perfect place to start your trips. But later it was easier and easier because we were more and more experienced in that. Yeah, but that was the biggest challenge.
Okay, and tell us a few words about the actually transporting the bike logistics, because you moved from one continent to another a few times using different means. How this looks?
Yeah, that's the most difficult part when we are always choosing our own bike. So our mission, our idea was to do the whole world exactly with our bike, yeah, not renting anything. So we are using transportations, and yes, the first one was with you. I remember that exactly. After that Asian trip,
How many years ago it was? How many years it was?
3.5 or something. Yeah, it was the end of 2016.
Yeah, so we know each other very long. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, after that Asian trip, we decided to go to South America and do the Pan American Highway. So from Argentina to Alaska. And yes, that was our first big transport, and we did it with you. So actually, we didn't see the whole paperwork. But later, when we were doing it by ourselves, we know how does it look. So we did it later after crossing Panama. I mean Colombia to Panama, the Darien Gap. So actually, then we choose the flight because it was easier, but also the container later. For example, from Egypt to Greece, and a few flights, few Roro. On our, we have some experience with, I think, every kind of transportation now. Yes, that's the challenge, but it's not only a challenge to organize it, but it's another thing to find, the cheapest solution, because when you are traveling, the money is something, for everybody, money is important. And actually, sometimes all these proposals are horribly expensive. So if we were looking for any flight, I remember exactly the thing. From Colombia to Panama, we got quotations from $1,000 to $10,000 for the same. So
Wow.
you need to be flexible, to find something which is suitable for you. And paperwork. This is another thing. You need to prepare the bike. You need to fill papers, and this is like dangerous guts, because this is motorcycle and it has battery inside and has fuel inside. That's another challenge. So you need to find another company to prepare it. And it's a long story of many things you need to do before you put the motorcycle, and then to receive the motorcycle in the port or at the airport.
Exactly.
It's another challenge. So
Okay.
from the beginning, we were happy that we did it with you, and then we were doing it by
Okay.
ourselves.
I don't know, Marta, if you see a question from Gagata. Do you see it?
Did you have? Yes, I can see it. Did you have any last-minute changes that required extra visa arrangement and cost you? Okay, so this is the question is too long. What is it? It cost you something.
The stress and any funny story. So I guess I may only guess that this situation now is causing quite a lot of stress.
This is answering the first question. That's the second one, the most challenging. Actually, everything is blocked. So with our visa now in Oman is quite friendly. It's beautiful. That's the first thing, but it's a friendly country. So our visa here was expired exactly the day they closed police stations. I don't know why, but they decided to close police station, and this is the only point you can extend it. So actually, that the same day they closed it. So we were thinking, okay, what to do? I was calling them, nothing. And then funny stories, but actually I received the message, no fines, don't worry. So we are staying. We are now staying here. I think because the visa was for 30 days, and we are now staying here like 40 days more than those 30 days. So it's not maybe so funny, but it was like very stressed from the beginning. But about visas, funny story from the beginning, where the Asian trip, we didn't have our Uzbek visa. When we started our Asian trip in 2016, it was during summer 2016, going to Chinese border, and we were receiving that visa in Warsaw on our way. So actually, our passport was in Warsaw, and we started our trip from Poznań. Yeah, and we've been riding. That was the afternoon of Friday afternoon, and the ambassador decided to have a special meeting with us, and then he made a mistake with the visa. So he was correcting it by a pen, and then actually we had a problem on the border, but after some time they decided to let us in. Many stories. I can just talk about it for hours.
I think we have to meet again once you are in Poland, and you will have a break in your and you will have a break in your trip, because I guess you will have a break now, no, for some time.
We are on our way to Australia, but we're gonna have a break. Actually, there is no sense to sit here, and we are coming back to Poland. We will see for how long. Yeah, break.
Okay.
Not planned.
Okay, one more question, and we will have to finish because Marta will have to run to the plane. How do you deal with medical expenses on the way? Jesus, I hope you didn't have any medical issues, or not serious ones, but do you have any special medical insurance, or did you visit many doctors or anything?
The insurance very important. We have quite good one from Poland. Actually, it covers the whole world except Poland. So if we are somewhere, it works. And unfortunately, we had, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, it was necessary to use it. So we know that it works, and then we had some problems, but it was like accidents, our motorcycle accidents, which is what is interesting. It was in Europe. Mostly we had some bad times in Europe. But I don't want to, I don't want to say something because we are still traveling. But yeah, the good insurance is very important when you want to cover the whole world, and exactly you don't know where you're going to be in the next few months, because we are still, a little bit editing our trip and our route. It depends on possibilities we have on the way. But medical, the other thing, we are just trying not to ride too much off-road in countries, for example, in Africa. We were just avoiding aggressive ride or something like that, not to be not to be in the hospital, because we all know about hospitals in this like third continent.
Okay, Marta, I know you have to pack and run for the plane, which appeared to be today. Just at the end, please give our listeners one advice before they start planning the trip, because there's plenty of people who wish to go on a trip, but they are too scared, too afraid, or they think they are not able to do anything, and it's not for them, it's for everyone else, which I personally think it's not true, because everyone can go. So what would you tell them to encourage them actually to do the first step?
To do the first step. Only one? Oh, that's so horrible.
You may say call the motorbird.
Yeah, call motorbird. But that's true. Use somebody's experience and don't hesitate to ask somebody. That's the first thing, because we receive also many questions how we did it and how we are still managing to do it. But that's the first thing. But my personal advice also is the one: go plan something for your 1 week or maybe 2 weeks, and just prepare yourself with the camping stuff, with all these papers you need, and don't stay maybe, okay, this is not a good idea to recommend it now because we know that borders are closed, but maybe just go somewhere abroad to check if you are able to communicate with people, even if you don't know the language, to manage with cash, because sometimes there are no ATMs. And I think good option is to choose not maybe Europe, something more right, I mean east. So this is like the closest idea, and we know many people, they are planning to do something during 2 weeks, because this is, I think, the maximum what we can have in Poland, and then you will see if you're gonna like it or not, or maybe you can prepare something longer, because we did it like that. So our first trip was just like vacations, and then we decided to make it like full time. And we know many people, they are going to South America. South America is like a paradise for bikers. And with Spanish language, which is not maybe spoken by everybody, so that's also the challenge, and you can do it with motorbirds, because that was our next step when we decided to travel.
Yeah. Okay, Marta, thank you very much for for finding time for us. I know it's tight, and fingers crossed for your flight to Poland, and hopefully we'll meet here soon. So you are very welcome to visit us finally when you are here, and tell us some stories. I'm sure we'll find time to talk to you later on as well, to go into details, because we could talk 24 hours about everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Unfortunately, we can't. And pass our greetings to Łukasz, and see you at home.
I will follow that. Yeah, and just live your dream, and don't be afraid of dreaming. That's another idea to everybody. Yeah, it's just in our mind.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All the best to everybody. Yeah, greets from Oman.
Bye. Okay,
bye.
So this was Marta, and we are back here in Warsaw. This was Marta in Oman. They are on the way back to Europe, thanks God. So we hope you liked our second live sessions and you found it useful. As you see, it's a lot of work to prepare your trip, but it's all doable, and there is just like a roadmap you have to follow yourself to actually be prepared, and not necessarily you have to do everything on your own. We are here, many other travelers or people or forums can help you. Just be open, look for advice, don't be afraid. And yeah, see you next week. We'll prepare something useful and something we hope interesting for you. We'll let you know as soon as possible. And bye from our side, from Motorbirds. Thank you for joining us.